Welcome back to the channel, everybody. It is 2024 and we have a lot of projects to share this year. And we're going to pick up right where we left off in 2023 with Wonder Woman. And I know a lot of you have this figure in hand and you have wanted to make a few different versions of your own. I did that myself. I made 3 different ones out of this one. Well, this is the original. This is straight out of box. It looks fantastic. Keep in mind these are only ideas and you can do whatever it is you like with your custom figure. Now I did paint the armor and I added some more detail, some more color, and I did this a second time just to show you the variety. I did paint the trousers or the briefs as you call them, and I also added a cape to this figure because I wanted that Lynda Carter look from the 70s and 80s. And I'll be showing you how I did that because I know that's why you're here. Now this is the original body with the original head and the cape without the stars. I will be showing you how I corrected this cape. Now, I won't be showing you the addition of the stars because there's just so many and it's tedious. But this cape I made incorrectly. This was my first prototype. I forgot one of the red stripes. You know, I plagued it with stars. It looks great, but it just bugged me to see that I was missing one of those colors. But let's go back through and take a look at how Lynda Carter looks with the body from this Wonder Woman. Now this is the original body. All I did was paint the bikini or the briefs, the trousers, and I added those stars. Those stars are cut on a Cricut cutter. They are vinyl stars and they are very small. So you have to print enough because you're going to ruin a few of them as you remove them from the backing. Once you remove the correct ones and you don't destroy it, you can then apply it. Now this is what I initially ended up with, and I really like the end result. Now that sculpt is not mine. I had to purchase that. I purchased a blank sculpt from Martin's Customs. This was many months ago that I purchased it, long before the Wonder Woman was even announced or even released. So I had this in my bin for a long time. Now painting this was an issue because getting the likeness was key. Those eyes, those eyebrows were very important to have correct. Let me show you what this portrait looks up a little bit closer so that you have an idea. Now here's the portrait. It is a resin cast portrait. I did paint it with inks and I did paint those eyes by hand. And yes, that tiara is also painted by hand. But I actually used the rub and buff, the gold, to give it the gold look on the tiara. Then I went back over it with yellow to cover in and give it some more color, obviously. But I wanted that yellow gold. And then I obviously finished it off with a translucent Tamiya to give it that gloss look. And of course I glossed up the lips and the eyes. But this is something that you can purchase yourself. You're looking at about maybe $50 or $60 if you want it painted. If you're looking just to buy the portrait unpainted, you're probably looking at about $25, maybe a couple of bucks for shipping, depending on the artist who actually has it and is able to distribute it for you. Like I said, this was very long ago that I purchased it. Now if you look at the inside, it is empty, it's hollow. You will have to adapt it to your peg on your figure. You want to use that blue tack stuff? Fine, go ahead. I don't like it, I don't use it. You want to use the O-rings? That's fine. They're going to be very large O-rings. I'm using epoxy, and the epoxy dries and gives me a perfect opening for that peg. The peg on this figure is smaller and thinner than most of the pegs. Let's take a look at the finalized product. before we move on, I do want to show you a couple of head swaps because that's what I did before I actually went into my third version of this. And you'll see that in just a moment. This is the original head going right into a Donna Troy, and it's actually too small and too dark a skin color, but I love the hair. It looks like the one that's on the card. And then I did something a little different. Well, this is the Lynda Carter, that's why you're here. And this Lynda Carter head looks great on any of the Wonder Woman bodies that you place it on. However, I did purchase one extra portrait on eBay. I was a little unhappy with the quality of the resin print, as you can tell from the adjustments or the corrections that I'm making to the face. But the hair looks beautiful. This is a She-Hulk, but it's just too heavy. This is what I want. The original head, I repainted the eyes, and I swapped out the hair from Donna Troy. Up close like this, it doesn't look all that great, but once you put it on the finalized product, it looks amazing. Let's take a look at how I got to the third stage. So, as I mentioned before, I made a third version of this figure. In this case, I decided to paint the armor in the yellow. I wanted that platinum figure, but I couldn't afford to buy the entire box of 6. And I'm certainly not paying $100 just for one figure that's unmodified. In any case, I did use the liquid resin to cover up a lot of this. Now, all of these Wonder Woman figures, unfortunately, well, they got this funny looking boot. The original Wonder Woman, any of the Wonder Woman figures, well, the drawings, they don't have this in the back. You're going to have to Dremel it off. Once you Dremel it off, you're going to have to sand it flush. Then you're going to come back and paint it, and then you're going to actually paint it. Well, you have to paint it white first, and then with the flesh tone. But to cover up any texture that's left over or any seams, I do recommend you use liquid resin. And while the resin is still in its form liquid, before you actually cure it, you want to just apply it with a very, very small applicator and just fill in those areas. Make it nice and smooth. If there's bubbles, don't worry about it because you're going to sand it and paint it. But you may have to do it twice, maybe 3 times, until you get it nice and smooth. Then you're going to put it in that easy bake oven. And I mean the UV LED lamp that's actually for nail art, because it's got a big opening, it's got a timer on top, and as you see right there at the bottom, UV LED lamp. It's got a timer so you can actually cure it exactly the same each time. Once you've got your parts prepped, sanded, you're ready to paint. And remember, acrylic paint. An airbrush is going to be key for this to get it nice and smooth finish so that you can make it look like it came out of the box. Now on the briefs, I'm going a little different here. I did paint the blue earlier, but I want to show you how to paint the yellow. Yellow is important in the sense that you need to have a correct base. The correct base is white. Yellow will not paint or cover anything. It's just going to be translucent. It's going to show through whatever color's underneath it. But if you use white and allow it to dry in between coats, you're going to have a beautiful yellow finish. I did the same for the torso. Now remember, the torso, I used the liquid resin or the liquid mask because of the contours on the actual figure. And getting it to stick to the shiny surface or paint, that was actually more difficult. So on the skin tone here, it was easy. And all I had to do was spray paint or airbrush with the white all of the other part of the torso. In this case, I want yellow on the armor. And I'm going to show you now how nice it looks when you come back after you have your different coats dry and apply your yellow. Take a look now at the yellow going onto the base white. It truly looks yellow. I love the way this looks. It looks clean. It looks like it came out of the box. Now, if you notice, I did mask out the inside of the trousers or the trunks because I don't want any paint coming off on the torso. I'm going to do the same now with the yellow here. I've already painted white. I've allowed it to dry, and take a look at how nice and clean this turns out. Now you will have to go back in with a liner brush and paint the red. Now you can do this in any way you want. You can go with the red first, masking out the yellow, and then unmasking it, etc. It's just easier to do it this way because it's a lighter color. The red is obviously a lot stronger, a lot more pigment in it, and it's going to be able to overpower any of that yellow that's in those crevices. This is the paint that I'm using, Premium Vallejo paint. I'm not going crazy on expensive paint. Now, let's peel this apart and show you the finished look, and you'll be able to see one of my mistakes. This blue tape actually peeled off some of my stars, and I had to go cut some more on that Cricut cutter. It also peeled away some of the paint. So you have to be careful how much pressure you apply to this masking tape when you are masking. If you've already painted it, as I did in this case, you can see it's going to peel off your paint, and you'll have to repaint those trousers or the bikini itself. And that's what I had to do. I ended up removing the white stars, cutting out some more, repainting it, and resealing it, because that plastic is very, very, well, it's unforgiving. So you have to use the correct paint. Now, on this though, this is a harder plastic, and it takes paint differently using the same paint. And I ended up painting it white once again. I masked it off with the blue tape. It did a great job, very clean, and the paint looks awesome. I love the way the shield turned out. But I had to do this because I want the entire set. Unfortunately, at this point, I did not have that version of the platinum version. I wanted to have my own, but I wanted my take on it. And if you want to do this for yourself, yeah, you're going to have to invest a little time for it to look like this. This is the Wonder Woman with Lynda Carter's head, and now in the yellow outfit. And you can see how many more stars I applied. I won't show you that because there's just so many. It's tedious, it's very long. Now the gauntlets, or the, well, I guess they're gauntlets, but they're more the bracers. I didn't like that dark blue on the platinum. I wanted it to be a lighter blue because it is supposed to imply that it's metal. But I also applied a color shift paint. You can't see that here in the video, but in person it is very subtle, and it does go from a slight purple to blue. And I really like that color change depending how the light hits the actual paint. Now the boots, take a look now. She has the corrected boots. So regardless of the portrait that you put on here, you'll have the corrected boots. The bottom part of the boots are from The Drowned. I did drill in just a little bit further so that it can have a stability. Here it is with the portrait from that She-Hulk that I'm fixing. And I love the way this looks, but it's just too heavy. This is about the only pose you can do because all the others will topple over. There's too much resin there. This should have hollowed it out. In any case, going back to the boots, they look corrected now because I painted that stripe not only on the ball joint, but all the way down to the tip of the boot. And it looks correct. Now the back part of the boot, the white, that's epoxy sculpt. And then I just painted that over. And I painted the reds to match. You have to be careful here because you will if you use your Dremel incorrectly on that high speed, you're gonna melt the plastic. You have to take your time and sand away only what's needed. And by the way, if you were wondering what Donna Troy looks like with her new hairdo, this is what she looks like. I don't have a lot of connection to this character. I like the portrait though, the way this one looks. And yeah, I'll probably end up working one just for this in the original costume. For now, this is the way it's going to look, and then it's going to go into a parts bin. But this is what the piece looks like now with that hair swap, and it looks so much better. To me, this is more of the Donna Troy that I would like to see. But let's move on, because we're really not here for this. We're here for the other figure, which is the completed Wonder Woman in the yellow and blue outfit. If you don't have that figure, then you're gonna be looking for one, or you can make one now using these techniques. Take a look. Now let's get back to the cape that I originally mentioned I cut wrong or constructed wrong. I was missing a red band on the opposite side. The stars are fine, but these are the products or tools you need. The rotary cutter, a nice sharp pair of scissors, red, white, and blue material. Particularly try to use the same materials so that you don't have that texture shift. Now these are like a satin on one side, and they've got some sort of a glittery finish on one, and you'll have to use an extra piece of material, cotton, because this shiny side will stick to the iron. The white has no texture, there's nothing on it, it's actually just a white satin, which is actually very thin. So I'm going to show you how to join these together, and the best way to join these together without any sewing is using that double-sided iron-on tape. And you're going to fold in one side and then opposite the other, and then place it one on top of the other. Remember, you don't have to have the red on the right side, you can have it on the left. The photos of reference had her wearing the cape either way, unless they flip that negative over. But otherwise, it's your choice. The stripes can be on the left or they can be on the right. Once you put it together, we're going to put in a seam at the top so that we can have a nice clean look. You don't have to cut out the bottom nice and neat yet. We still have to add those stripes in there. But now you can see how it's joined and it looks very clean. Now that red material does not fray because it has that lining or that coating that has the glitter on it. But the white will fray if you're not careful. Now these are the blue stripes that we're going to add. And I cut those also with that rotary blade. It's about 1 inch on the bottom and tapers out to 1/4 inch at the top. It might have to go just a little bit smaller. And this is what you want to do before you start gluing these down. I'm not going to sew these in because this material is really difficult to work with, especially when it's this small. So using that double-sided iron-on tape is going to be key. And this is the way you have to do it. If you have another idea, great. This is the way I did it. Let me show you. This is now the pattern that we've got for our cape. I've already ironed these on. I cut down very thin strips and then I've glued it onto the back of those blue and ironed it on to the actual white section. Now I'm going to go in, cut out another thin strip of that double-sided iron-on tape, and then iron out the edge or hem for the top. Here it is already finished out. I've already trimmed out the bottom where my blues are, and on the red itself also. Now we still need to cut a hole for the neck, and that's going to be important to make sure you get it centered. Here it is. I've cut it out already. I just made a nice little U shape. There's nothing spectacular about it. And I've also added the collar to it. Now on this, I'm going to run a small wire so I can have it cinch around the neck. I don't want to install it permanently because I want it to be removable. Now I'm only going to show you the placement of 2 of these stars, but this is the vinyl sheet where I've cut out my stars. I cut out 4 sets just in case I blow it on a few of these. And you can see how tiny these are. And yeah, it's hard to see, so it's hard to show it. But one at a time, and then fill in as many as you want. I did not cut out the blue stars. I just didn't feel like cutting out any more stars. But if you want to add blue stars to your cape, that's up to you. If you want me to produce a cape like this for you, it's $45. It takes a long time to produce just this one cape. But if you want to do it, you now have the techniques to do it on your own. So plan a full day because that's how long it takes. Now let's take a look at the Lynda Carter with the corrected cape. I hope that you learned something today. I hope that you liked the video. We'll see you here next time.